Hi, I'm Gerard Kramer from the University of Minnesota College of Veterinary Medicine. In this video, we will discuss how to properly apply a hoof block to a dairy cow's foot. There are several block application steps, and in this video, we will walk you through each one of these. The first step in proper block application is to properly trim the healthy foot. This has been covered using knives and grinders in 2 different videos. The reason we start with this step is that we want to ensure that the block fits at an appropriate angle. Ideally, the block fits at 85 to 90 degrees to the metatarsals on the hoof. The next step in picking a proper block application is picking the right size block. To decide which block we're going to use, we have to consider how long we want the block to stay on the cow and whether the cow is living in a high wear environment. In a situation where there's a high wear environment or we want the block to remain on the cow for an extended time period, plastic blocks are preferable. For example, in a sand-bedded situation where we're recycling the sand, plastic blocks such as this one are very useful as they remain on the cow's foot and have very little wear, whereas the wooden ones would wear out in 1 to 2 weeks. This little block is very helpful to treat cows with thin soles. It is only used in a certain situation and should not be used to treat cows with sole ulcers or white line disease, although they can be glued on to a wooden block underneath to extend their life. Before we apply the block to the foot, we need to prepare the foot. To properly prepare the foot, we're going to try to remove the manure that's on the foot or chase away any moisture that's on the foot, because the glue is not going to stick to a foot that's wet or dirty. To properly do this, I use 2 different tools. I use a hoof rasp to clean the foot, and then I use a heat gun to dry the foot and the block prior to applying the glue. As you can see, I have cleaned up the foot and I have very lightly touched it with the grinder because we're not trying to remove horn. We're just trying to remove the manure and remove as little horn as possible, because previously in steps 1, 2, and 3, we've done the appropriate angle. We've created all the appropriate positions. So in this step, all we want to remove is the horn. The next step for applying a block is to make sure the foot is dry. So I'm going to use a heat gun to dry the foot. Even if it's very hot outside, I still do this step. There's always a little bit of moisture left on the foot. And I just dry it. And this is a very hot heat gun, so you have to keep moving it on the foot. We can't keep it still in one location on the cloth. To properly dry the block, I just hold it there, move it back and forth, and we do this step to ensure any manure or moisture that's been applied when I picked it up has been removed. In colder temperatures, this will also speed up curing of the block. We're going to apply the glue where the toe triangle would be, right here, and then along the wall. And what we're trying to avoid is kind of the sole ulcer location on the medial claw. So anything that I've colored here is where we're going to apply glue in this location. So this is a 2-part component glue. We're going to apply the glue, and we want to apply a lot of glue. The worst part about not applying enough glue is that the block will come off, which requires more labor to reapply the foot onto the foot. This is the amount of glue I would put on the block prior to putting it on the foot. As you can see in this shot, we've applied about 1/8 of an inch or 3 to 4 millimeters of glue on top of the block. This amount of glue allows the foot to create appropriate bond with the block. If we use less glue than this, the block does not attach properly. When applying the block, it is important to put pressure in the appropriate spots. We want to ensure the block is applied in an appropriate angle and takes weight off the foot. I'm using a tongue depressor just to spread the glue around and ensure it doesn't. You'll notice that I did not put a lot of pressure on the block because I want to make sure that the glue stays between the block and the foot. You'll also notice that there's a lot of excessive length to this block, but this is on purpose. This allows the cows, when they're walking, to relieve pressure on the sole ulcer location. If the block extends too much past this heel, we can also change or remove this part of the block. One thing we can do to improve how a cow walks on a block is to create a rollover on the block. To do this, we hold the grinder and remove a section of the block like this. It's about a 45-degree angle on the block. This will improve when the cow pushes off on her foot. This illustrates a block that's been applied inappropriately. As you can notice, there's very little height difference between the healthy and the non-healthy claw. To correct this, we need to take the grinder and remove this part of the block. When we change the angle of the block with the grinder, it'll improve the amount of weight that's taken off the non-healthy foot. So we're going to remove block on this side like this. So we're going to remove the wood, and we're going to remove more of the wood closer to this side and remove a little bit on this side. This will change the angle of the block and allow more weight to be taken off this claw. I will now proceed to demonstrate this. When we are doing this, we want to make sure that when the cow puts her foot down, she's bearing weight on the whole block. So we want to make sure that we change the angle across the whole block. As you can see, we have changed the angle or the thickness of the block to improve the angle. When I hold this block on it now to check how much weight is being borne on the other side, we can see that there's a lot more weight than was previously there. And this occurs across the whole block. This will greatly improve the time it takes to heal the lesion on this claw here.